Hello, I'm Megan, owner and clinical herbalist here at Megan & Company. I'm so happy you have found us. Welcome to the Apothecary. Hibiscus is a relaxing herb. It has no caffeine, and the way that it works on the cardiovascular system is as a vasorelaxative for the blood vessels. It works particularly on the epithelial lining of the cells. So if you look at a blood vessel, the epithelial lining is the first lining or the uppermost lining of the vessel wall. And most of the research being developed on the epithelial lining is now, it is considered an organ rather than just a lining. Because the epithelial lining, think of it almost like an orchestrator and a communicator, because it communicates so much on a cellular level back to the heart, back to the nervous system, on whether or not to contract, to dilate, and it has a lot of cellular response to what is going on in the vessel itself. So hibiscus has a direct effect on tonifying and repairing that epithelial lining. Why that is important is that epithelial lining is extremely thin. It's only one cell level thin. So it's just one cell deep, and then right below that, you go into muscle tissue lining. So that epithelial lining is really susceptible to free radical damage, oxidative stress, any type of sickness. So that is why you can see it getting damaged if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, anytime that the blood vessel walls are dealing with a lot of internal stress themselves. The epithelial lining is really susceptible. And hibiscus has a direct effect on repairing and supporting that lining. The reason that we have tea infusions is that most of the constituents of hibiscus are water soluble. So the best way to take hibiscus is from a tea, rather than, let's say, an oil extract, a tincture. Tincture you will receive some, because in the scale of solubility, when what I mean by solubility, it's water soluble, oil soluble, alcohol soluble. It's how the medicinal aspects extract in the base or the liquid that you're putting it into. And when I talk about solubility, it's those cells within the plant that are either will extract in oil or whether they'll extract in water. In hibiscus, most of those properties of the cell that support the cardiovascular system, they extract in water. So that's why it's best to utilize it as a tea. So you see there's two different blends here that look quite different. This one you can't hardly see through at all, and this one is a little bit lighter. This is a modest steep, and usually what you traditionally see if you just look for a general infusion of hibiscus, like if you Google a recipe, this is 1 teaspoon of loose leaf hibiscus for an 8-ounce cup. And I only steep this 8 minutes too. This one is 1 tablespoon, so 3 times as much. And I also doubled the infusion time. This is a hibiscus from my yard. Now, I transplanted this from my grandfather's farm, so I have no idea the species. However, I know that it's an inedible form. And I know that it has not bloomed yet. When you think of hibiscus, you think of that bright, beautiful flower. Yes, but it's not the flower that we're ingesting. The flower is not the medicinal part. It's actually this. The pod. So this is not bloomed yet. So it's not a pod. It is like the little cup that the flower comes out of. So it is, the pronunciation is called a calyx. And so this hasn't bloomed yet. So, but this is where the flower will come out of. And it is from a Greek word called kalux. And the kalux is a Greek word for cup or husk. So it's like a little holder for where the flower comes out. Now, in the medicinal aspect of hibiscus, once that flower comes out, then this turns red afterwards. Once the flower has bloomed, this turns red, and that's when it's harvested. The red aspect, harvested before it grows a little seed pod inside. Now, you know that mine is in an edible form because mine never turns red. It always stays green afterwards. And so that's how to determine whether you have a edible form or an inedible form. If yours always stays green, it is a cultivated form of it. Aside from the calyx or the cup, the plant itself is full of a lot of other minerals. So it's probably like the vitamin C contents that they're getting out of the minerals themselves. But the traditional redness that you see is from the anthocyanins. That is the red aspect that you see, and that will only come from that little cup. After it blooms, this pod is probably 3 times the size of this. Yeah. So it enlarges quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But one stem only has, a few on it. So hibiscus has that beautiful color that we all know. It is utilized in a lot of natural dyes and paints, charcoals, as far as where it grows, mostly tropical. Think of how hot it is right now. I believe it needs to stay above, the soil needs to stay above, I think, 20 degrees Celsius before it starts growing. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit. It's just what I remember reading. So it is very tropical. But the theory is that it was originally domesticated in Sudan in Africa. Yeah. But that original hypothesis was around 4000 BC. So many decades ago. 6 or 7 years ago. Hibiscus is utilized a lot, as you said, Susie, by adding in just small amounts to daily quantities, especially in like tincture form, something that's preserved really well. Because let's face it, brewing tea a lot, sometimes people just aren't compliant with it. So the preparation that we're going to make is a honey infusion. So the simple preparation for any honey syrup, honey-based syrup, is equal parts anything. So if you do 1 cup honey, do 1 cup water base. So make 1 cup infusion of your tea and then mix it with that same volume honey. Very, very easy. Afterwards, the honey acts as a preservative for the water. Depending on the properties inherently in the herb you choose, dictates the lifespan of the syrup once it's combined. What do I mean by that? Hibiscus does not necessarily have any, let's say, antibacterial qualities on its own. It's really good at an anti-inflammatory properties, but compared to, let's say, Oregon grapefruit, which we did last summer, Oregon grapefruit is an antibacterial on its own. If we made that into a syrup, it would combine the antibacterial qualities of the honey together. So it would enhance the qualities together, thus expanding the livelihood of the product together. So you'll have to experiment and see. Typically 1 month, if it's refrigerated, is a starting point for any. Okay? Usually I will blend it, put a label on it, put a tag on it for 1 month, stick it in the refrigerator, and see how long it lasts. Now, a good example of that we've done a lot is here at the Tea Bar. All of our specialty drinks we make honey-based infusions with. So we know that things like peppermint will have a shorter lifespan than something like a honey-infused lavender, because lavender has antibacterial qualities in it. Okay, so I have had this going almost an hour, which is okay. You know, I initially was going to have it going for 20 minutes, but any long infusion like this, once it goes in with syrup, it's going to take away that tart bitterness. Because what are the properties of honey? Does anyone know? When I'm thinking properties of honey, I'm thinking, is it going to add moisture or is it going to dry you out? Moisture, yes. So, and it's also very sweet too, right? So that tartness that you are tasting here will neutralize with this, okay? But it might also neutralize that within your body too. So it might not have that astringent effect or that drying effect. And when I say drying, if you're having a lot of inflammation, it might not be as anti-inflammatory as like the tea blend for you. Initially, when I was talking about honey, I was talking about 50-50 portions. I know that when I make an infusion with water, some of that water is going to get soaked up by the herb. So I did 500 milliliters of honey and I did 600 milliliters of water. I just added a little bit more water, knowing that I wasn't going to get it all out here. Now with honey, you definitely would want it warm, because you, with a lukewarm or even cold liquid, you wouldn't have that infusion, because you need to soften the honey to get it molded together. When we're talking about the cardiovascular system with herbs, there's usually 2 classifications of herbs for cardiotonics, things that happen really fast and things that are more tonifying and reparative long term. Hibiscus shows up really fast. You see results really fast because of the relaxative effect and that direct effect on the epithelial layer and the signaling that hibiscus has to those cells, that it will relax the vessels very fast. The other effects that we didn't talk about, because I have been focusing a lot on the cardiovascular system, is those sour astringent qualities. It releases digestive enzymes, so it helps stimulate digestive enzymes. It will help process digestion. So if food just sits in your belly and you feel like after you eat a couple hours, you either have a belly, a bloated belly of food just sitting in there, and it's really struggling to move into the small intestines, hibiscus will stimulate digestive enzymes to break down that food. The other thing that it will do metabolically is it regulates glucose too. So after, if you drink it with food, it will regulate the way glucose is received within the body. So it has metabolic actions as well. What we didn't really touch on was the color of the hibiscus, because the color of the hibiscus has a lot of energetic properties too. And so it represents a lot of heart or emotional healing aspects. And so hibiscus also has a flower essence. And so the flower essence of hibiscus, we haven't touched on flower essences much in this class. Flower essences are energetic, emotional support. So this has none of the physical properties that we touched on today. No cardiovascular support, no metabolic support, all energetic support. And hibiscus energetically supports the heart and the lower chakra. So it's going to be more of reproductive support, energetically and emotionally stabilizing. If anything from this conversation has sparked any interest in you, feel free to give us a call. We can spend some time chatting with you over the phone or stop into the shop. You can reach us at 712-339-9051. You can also stop into the store or visit us on our website, meganandco.com.